you're riding both the thrust,
They had like a punch card thing.
the saddle goes up and down, but since it's on a horse, it goes in a forward direction.
Yeah, they definitely stay busy.
I asked them how many they've gone to, or if they were busy. He said they've some steer season and pro season and all that stuff. He said they've gone to 24.
A little harder in the trot.
I don't think he does that.
Yeah, that's Larry. Larry's the one who told me how to horse.
Something you might not have worked on. In the walk, a horse bobs his head. And the reason he does it is, in the walk, he wants to take big steps with his hind leg. And so every time he takes a step with his hind leg, there's left, there's right.
It's been a while. It's been a long while.
So left and right and left and right.
They do like
What that does is it shifts a little weight forward, and it makes it easier for him to take that big step. And we want him to do that. That's a natural part of the walk game. So, is you want to have a little connection in your hands, but since his head's bobbing up and down, it makes it a little harder. So what you want to do, and you're kind of doing it there, when your pelvis thrusts forward, your hands actually move back. Just like you're doing. That's very good. And you can tell if your timing is good when, because you're feeling the reins, and the reins don't get tighter and looser, but he still bobs his head. And you can feel it. It's good. Stay relaxed. And remember, we talked about this connection. Your thumb and your forefinger are holding the reins so they don't slip. If your reins slip, then you can't have a connection.
You can't keep him playing down
You
there.
know, it's like playing tug of war. If you and I are going to play tug of war, and every time you and I pulled on the rope, I just let it go. We couldn't play tug of war.
Will you do something about the mud
There's
around
no way
here?
to do it.
The mud.
If you're going to have a connection with your horse, if you let the reins slip through your hands, then you can't have that connection because he keeps taking it away. So your thumb and your forefinger kind of lock the reins in there. And there's a second group of muscles in your arms, and that's the group of muscles that you can do. Okay? Just raise your hands up and lower. That group of muscles are going to have just tense enough that your hands kind of just float in front of you. They're not stiff. Don't want you to lock them like you're a statue. Want them to be soft and be relaxed. Now there's a third group of muscles, and this is a big group of muscles that you pull with, that you would go like this with. Now try to relax that group of muscles and don't do anything at all with that group of muscles. And I want you to take a little feel of the reins so that you can feel his mouth. To keep this group of muscles relaxed that you would pull with, so that as he looks, as he pulls his head down, as he looks off to the left, as he looks off to the right, it's just kind of self-adjusting. Your arms just adjust. That's it.
It's got the ice over there.
Connect up here.
Are
Are you having trouble hearing me?
6 feet.
Oh, automatic. It's wicked. Randy can't get in. Are you serious? Hey, like, you know your door handle here? Just go. You put both hands on it. See if you'll rip it off. We gotta give you some stuff first.
Can you hear me okay? Is this more better?
Yes.
It's running boards.
A lot better.
Stuff on the bed. What's this reading?
Are you serious?
Stay nice and relaxed. Very good. And now you see you don't have to think about, okay, he's pulling on the reins, I've got to make the reins a little longer, I've got to make them a little shorter. It just happens all by itself. You don't have to think about it.
Oh, wow.
It ain't set up.
Now, every time you have a little feel of the reins in your hands, you need to have a little bit of pressure on your legs. Okay? If you have, kind of an easy way to think about it, is if you have 1 pound in your hands, that's okay if you can have 10 pounds in your legs. Because you always want to be thinking that you're going to take this horse, this 1,200 pound horse, and you're going to squeeze him with your legs, and you're going to push him forward with your legs into the bit. I think he likes the way this bit is now. It's a little softer in his mouth. He's not fussing with it, and it doesn't look like he's trying to put his tongue over. Sometimes they do that when they get a little nervous, and he looks very relaxed. The other thing that happens sometimes is when you start working on something new, they get a little nervous, and sometimes they grind their teeth, and sometimes they'll put their tongue over the bit. And it's just while we're working on something new. I had a thoroughbred that you could hear him across the showgrounds. If we were working on something new, you could hear him literally over the whole farm. The goats moving around. So I got some. This is nice. And if you notice how that swing works, when you swing from side to side, when your saddle drops on the inside, the left side, that's when you use your left leg. And your leg wants to give him a hug, give her a hug. And when it drops on the right side, your right leg will want to give her a hug. And that's exactly the right time to do that. That's it. Now go ahead and take a little feel of the reins. Just a little very light feel. Keep those muscles in your arms relaxed. And as you get a little bit more in your hands, add a little bit more in your legs. There you go. Now you notice for moments here, she gets real soft to ride.
Oh, yeah.
So what's happening? There are two things that happen that you want to have happen. Goes behind the board. There are two things that you want to have happen that are happening here. The first thing that's happening is your horse is taking bigger steps from behind. A bigger step takes a long time. So if she's making little short steps, they're repeating fairly quickly. It looks like the goat's headed outside. So the steps are repeated pretty frequently. That's it. And that means that you have to thrust your pelvis faster, which makes it harder. The other thing that happens is that when the horse steps from behind up into the bridle, which is what you're asking him to do, his back gets rounder, rounds underneath you. And I'm sure you've been on a tractor that doesn't have any springs, and they're pretty rough to ride. I mean, you don't go very fast down a bumpy road.
Well, on that tractor we did.
Well, it's not very comfortable. But if you go in your car that has nice springs on it, or maybe you're lucky and you have air ride or something, it's real soft to ride in. Well, Well, this is kind of like a horse has air ride. When he rounds his back, he gets real soft to sit on because it's now springy. It's a little springier. So the shock of him taking the steps is absorbed right there, so you don't have to ride it. This is nice. Let's go ahead and pick up a trot rising, a nice, easy, quiet trot rising. You're on the correct diagonal. Now make your posting cycle, that is the time you spend in the saddle and the time you spend out of the saddle, a little longer. So I want you to post like that, a little bit bigger. Okay, he's over there, he's concerned, or she's concerned. But if you don't pay much attention to it, then she won't either. There, nice. Now you notice what your horse is doing. She's following how you're posting. So let's change the rein through the center of the circle here. Remember, she has to bend. Now, she's like most horses. They don't like, most horses, and I think this young lady is one of them, they don't like to bend very much to the right. So you have to be a little bit more demanding when you go to the right than when you go to the left. Because you want to keep her flexing, that is looking to the left, or looking to the right with her head. And you also want to try to bend her body, which is the hard part. Now I want you to take your left leg, put it back behind her, and give her hugs in the back there. That's it. Yes. Now, you notice what's happening here is your horse is starting to bend in her body a little bit better. Because what you're doing with your left leg is you're pushing her hindquarters in towards the center of the circle.
All of them?
This is nice.
The chickens are in the water because
They want you to sit a couple strides and without your reins, come back to
and
walk.
then we tried to put the
Sit a
chickens
couple of
in the
strides.
chicken, and the turkey's killed.
Okay, good. And let her stretch here for a minute. Let her relax.
I kicked all the
Keep
chickens
your
out of
leg
it,
on her.
and then I kind of don't hate them because if we
Now, this is kind of a thing. Safety is always first when you ride a horse. Because they're big, dangerous animals, and they can hurt you, and they don't mean to,
yeah, because I found
okay?
that.
But you have to, sometimes you have to trust them a little bit and cross your fingers that they don't take advantage of you.
Yeah, that's very hard.
Especially,
I had a very near death injury last year.
ooh, that's not a good thing.
If it wasn't for the guy with the video camera, I would not be here.
Well, that's a good thing, the lady was here. So, you want to try to let her stretch a little bit
I mean, I guess we
and add just a little leg, just a little quiet hugs, inside, outside.
yeah, I thought we had to take the wagon and I'm
She
like,
says,
wagon.
oh, this is okay. And you notice when she flexes, that is when she takes her head and looks to the right, she also flexes at the pole. And she's correct in the way she flexes at the pole. You don't want her, you want her to be either slightly in front of the bit or on the vertical or slightly in front. Never behind.
Yeah,
All of the books, and people don't seem to pay any attention to the books sometimes. All the books say that, exactly that way.
Right.
Even the Western Dressage say the same thing.
How they explain it, it's really.
That's right, I remember that. Okay, let's try sitting. Let's work a little bit on your seat, and then we're going to work on some lateral things. So let's try, don't get the legs up too much. You want to keep her head about where it is now. This is a good place for it right now. Sitting trot.
Shared serving.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because Marcus is the one that all of
Okay,
their
here,
research
let's
team
go back a little more on this.
We're
We're gonna make this a little easier, so I want you to sit the wall,
That's obviously.
come back to the wall, and we're
So
gonna talk
Marcus
about
is
it.
the
We'll
one
stop
that started
here.
that, keeping your low, keeping your down there. And
You
ruins
tend to
them.
like to sit kind of like this.
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
I got some.
And that's an old hundred. Okay, you never did that. But, you know, if you look at the books, the old school books, you see the schoolgirl sitting in the chair, the little stool with the books piled up on their head, and they're sitting like this.
The
I
faster
want
you
you
go,
to
the
sit
better.
more straight up and down. Because the saddles, think about how the saddle's moving. The horse's back moves in a certain way each gait. And the trot, it's moving up and down.
Because the chickens will leave it off.
But we add to
So they,
that the horse is also moving in this direction. So that means it goes up and forward and down like a wave. Now,
Dude, I'm
you
gonna go
want
for
your
that
pelvis, you're sitting on your sitting bones right now. You want those sitting bones to stay in exactly the same place in the saddle. You want to move exactly with the saddle. And once you can move exactly with the saddle, then you can direct your horse a little bit by changing the way you move with the saddle. Simply a little change, a little bigger, a little smaller. But you first have to be able to move exactly with the saddle. So the movement of the saddle, remember, is up and forward like this. So what you want to do, once you're going to swing in the park,
you would regret
you
it.
want the swing to go higher, and you thrust your pelvis forward.
Good.
And if you want it to go higher than that, you have to thrust it forward more.
And then
So that's the first basic
Are you dead
movement
serious?
that you have to do, is you want to
I was
thrust
gonna
your
be
pelvis
really excited
forward.
because then we would come out.
Now, unfortunately, it's not like coasting,
Yeah.
just the motion of the horse helps you. Sitting,
As soon as I understand it,
sitting is
you're not
labor
right now,
intensive,
I'll be there.
and it requires your abdominal muscles and your core muscles to pull your pelvis
Be an
forward
indoor paddle.
with each stride.
No, for
And
Kim
when I
and
talk
Anthony,
about
they're
strides, you have left stride and the
And
right stride.
your border.
Your left and your right. Remember, as he takes a step with his right hind, you thrust forward, and then with his left hind, and then with his right hind, so it's two things. So you have to do that movement. So one of the things, or two of the things that'll make this easier is don't arch your back like this. Try to keep it straight up and down. And the second thing is don't lean forward. I don't think you're leaning forward much. But keep that in mind. If you lean forward, it makes it harder because your pelvis has to lift your body up in order to swing forward. We want to make it as easy as possible. So let's try it, and I've got a couple of things that we might do here just to practice that. Let's change the rein. Let's go to the left, and then you don't have to worry so much about bending the horse. Take that little connection, and you remember you're using your legs to get that connection, not so much your hands. And you're thrusting your pelvis forward in the walk. That is easy in the walk. Let's do it in the trot.
No, I haven't.
Thrust your, that's it. There you're getting it. And it's a lot of work, so we'll go one more time around, and then we're going to take a little break. See? Relax. Relax, big thrust to the pelvis. She's giving you a big stride, so you have to ride a big stride. Okay, now, just with your seat, no hands, ride the wall. Well done. Catch your breath, and then we're going to try it again. Big thrust. Now, you have to keep in mind here that you have to ride whatever you're asking for with your legs. Because if you don't ride it, you won't get it.
Yep.
What you actually do with the horse is you say, with your legs, you say, give me a bigger stride. And with your seat, you say no. So you don't want to say bigger stride, no, bigger stride, no. You want to say bigger stride, yes. Okay, nice big stride and legs on. And we're going to do something, I think we can do it here. And we'll get this horse to give you her back to make it a little easier. Ask the horse to go. Sitting trot. Relax. Relax. Keep thrusting your pelvis forward. Now see if you can relax a little bit more and feel the swing of the horse's back. Just relax and dance with your horse. Now your horse is starting to give you her back. It's easier to sit. This is nice. Get tense. Try to stay relaxed and feel the swing. And as you feel the swing, just like in the law, add a little leg. Just a little leg. That's, yes.
He goes all over.
Okay, now ride the wall. Nothing else, not hands or anything there. Perfect, well done. Let her stretch a minute. Did that feel better? Okay. Now you got a glimpse of something there. Your horse gave her back to you. And that's the best present that your horse can give you. That's better than 10 Christmas presents from Santa Claus, if you're talking about your horse. And your horse likes this bit. She's not arguing about the bit. She's not upset with it. And I think making it a little softer in her mouth has helped. Because you see, in theory, you're going to hold the bit in a certain place. So in theory, we could take the whole bridle off and just have a bit in the reins.
Yep.
So in theory, that's the way you should be able to ride. But unfortunately, we have to have a loose rein once in a while, which means the bit would fall out of her mouth.
Actually, do you know Chase?
But see, you're going to get to the point where you use that bit so little that you could actually take it out of her
Good kitty
mouth
rider.
and ride without it.
She's got a nice horse.
You will.
Quite often.
Yeah. Yeah, I follow like mom.
Okay, now, I want you to take the connection back with your hands. And as you start feeling your hands having connection, add legs. So you're always pushing the horse forward into the connection. Pushing her into the bit and not pulling the bit back. There. Very good. This is well
That's one
done.
mistake I didn't do.
Very quietly, sit and trot.
That's okay.
Big thrust of the pelvis. Stay relaxed and feel the swing. That's it. Yes. And as you feel the swing,
Oh, well, I might have to.
Sorry.
Paul and Kelly Burke and another girl we're trying to get programmed on here.
Very good. Now, the next time you come around here, I want you to go down along the side and add even more leg. And even a bigger swing, bigger swing and a bigger thrust of your pelvis. And ask her to make bigger steps.
Get started and then hopefully we'll grow.
Okay, she says, oh, I don't know what to do here. Let's come around the
It was
other end.
Debbie and Bethany Todd.
Now you remember, why don't you come across the diagonal here?
They had so many things they wanted to
Because
do.
we still have the remnants of her memory of the creature. That's very nice. Did you feel what your horse just did right here at the end? Keep loud. And ask for a bigger step, even bigger step than this. Big, 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 big. Not faster, bigger. Big, big, big. Ask with your legs. Inside, outside. There she goes. Okay, now I want you to just sit to walk. Relax and sit to walk. You just lengthen the horse's stride, which is a first level movement. Now, on first level, it just asks for a lengthened stride. It's not an extended trot yet, but it's the place you start. So you're on the path, leads there. Okay, let's do a little canter work here. And we'll work a little bit on that, and then we're going to work on some lateral things. however you want to do it.
You know, and the
We'll go
horses
left.
now, somebody last night, I hear animal
Is
control.
Yeah,
It's easier to start with the question.
you read that.
And there's some things we can do to
Well,
help.
I've gotten better at it. I
Can
went
you
to
read
this farm.
Hollywood?
I went to this barn yesterday, and they had a whole barn they wanted me to do. I said, I'll do as many things before I get my
Inside like the earth, outside like the heart.
And they were thrilled. They could not
And
believe
give
the
them
insights they
all,
gave.
remember
I
you're
picked
gonna
up
add
on
a little
everything
leg.
with their personality.
You have to add
I
a
said, I don't know
little
what
hand.
happens, if it's because I know horses,
Little.
Yeah.
or if I'm reading the people's thoughts, or if again.
And it'll be inside,
Yeah,
outside.
and the true test is they said, there's two horses out in back of one.
Relax, nicely done.
So they're too young. So I said, let me see what I can do.
Okay.
If I can do it on the phone. And I said, there's male and female. I said, and one is red and one is black.
Okay, let's go back down
So
the
I
wall.
think the brown is the female.
I'm sorry. What happened right in here is you were getting ready to ask for the camera,
He's not as energetic.
is you lost the connection with your hands. You still have your legs. So the horse's response to that is to run a little bit. And we don't want them to run into the camera, we just want them to step into it. So as you have legs and say, okay, this, I want you to do the same thing with your hands. So you don't lose that connection. And it can get more. Remember, in theory, if you put 10 pounds of weight in your hands, if you could do 100 pounds worth with your legs, that would be okay. Although most people can't do that. So as you're asking her to camera, I want you to also squeeze inside, squeeze outside. Keep that connection. Squeeze inside, squeeze outside. Okay, let's try it. Try it. I want you to come. Is you're coming in here. I want you to do it in a wall. You're coming around right into here. Now you're committed to make this turn. She's going to go to a turn where you're
Since I have to.
directing her. This no longer feel like behind the drum.
A big star. And a horse like that. I mean, it's really phenomenal what they say and do.
So she stays around, stays with
So
you.
everyone in that, there's one horse that's like a real, he's like a boss horse.
I don't expect that she's going to walk in the camera.
And I said, she takes care of everybody in the barn.
But however you have her before you do the change of gait is how she'll be when she gets it. So if she's running and then you can't, the camera's going to
She
be
went, oh my
running.
gosh, she said, I've been thinking
But
that.
if she's relaxed
He doesn't lose his
and
coat,
has
he
her,
has, he doesn't push it.
has herself all together, that's the way your camera is
Wow.
when you come out of the other side.
But he was taller.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then he
So
was-
let's just walk up, and when you get right in here, I want you to ask for the camera.
Kind of like an unemotional horse. He's kind of dull.
Now, when you lunge her, does she canter okay on the lunge line?
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Do you say the word canter? I want you to say it just like you do when you're lunging.
Quiet, nice horse.
I want to hear that, I want her to hear that command.
And they said, well, when they jump, they said, well, you're supposed to was trained for reining. And when they say reining,
Canter.
It's okay, it's okay. Let's let her relax here for a minute. But I want her to hear that, and just like she's on the line. She knows what that means. Need a little bit more hand here.
Canter.
There you go. Good girl. Good girl. Okay, now give give her a big pat. She was just wondering, here comes the girl going to give us our radio. Now, relax a while.
If I say something to you.
Okay, you see what happened? You used your voice. And this is what we do when we train horses. If she was a green horse that you hadn't ridden yet, one of the first things you would do is teach her to lunge. And the first thing you would do on the lunge line is a walk. And here you'd be on the lunge line, and you'd be saying, and people will listen to you, think you're some kind of a nutcase that's standing out there saying, walk about 10,000. But what you're doing is you're teaching that horse to respond to the stimulus of your voice saying the word walk. And then you'll do the same thing at the trot. You'll do the same thing at the canter. Now when you get on the horse doesn't have a clue, which I think is part of the problem. She's not really understanding what this leg stuff means yet, the transition to canter. But she does understand what your voice means. So you apply both at the same time. You apply your voice and you apply your leg aids and your seat aids. The other thing you have to do here is don't wait for her to canter before you canter. Okay? You have to ride that transition. If you wait for her to canter, and you say, when you're ready. If you wait to ride the canter for her to canter, then what happens in that split second when she canters and you're not cantering yet, she thinks she made a mistake, so she comes back to trot.
And they give you pictures.
I've never gotten any pictures, but I feel like I know what they're thinking.
Well, and they'll tell you different things, and you try to figure out what it is in their mind that they're trying to say. It's different, like the one horse that said he kept talking about his bitch. And so when I just
Sorry,
ordered
this
it out,
could go this big.
It's all right.
Big problem.
and I could pick up the.
Okay, next time around, let's ask with your can. And you're going to ask with your hands a little bit here, but you're going to ride that can, and you're going to ask with your voice.
Canter.
There you go. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Walk, relax. When you come right back here, it's to the camera. Yeah, not there. We're good to go. All those nice people are over there. Now we have a chicken that's out here.
She wasn't even looking at, really. I mean, now she might, because it's there. She was at least ignoring that.
But that's where we want to do our transition. Come on, Mr. Chicken. Yeah, go on. Go on, Mr. Chicken. Go on, Mr. Chicken. Go on, Mr. Chicken. I know. Go on, Mr. Chicken. Good. Okay. Try to ride that transition.
And canter.
There you go. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, just relax. Back down. As soon as you get down here, you ask her to canter immediately. Say
Canter.
canter.
Good. Canter.
Come on back down. Relax. Relax.
All right.
Okay, just very quietly now, let's come back to trot. Relax, there you go. Just go right to posting. Good. Good. Nice drop. How's this feel? Okay, now I want you to sit, come back to walk. Very good. Your pat was a wonderful horse. That was easier. Riding the canter better. And it felt funny because she was trotting, you were riding the canter. That's okay. And looked up the canter.
And canter.
Yes. Okay, let's come back down to trot. The transition is what we want to practice.
Yep.
So come back down the walk. As soon as you get over, and we're going to use the same place in the ring because we want her to anticipate it.
And canter.
Okay, let's come on back down. And come back over here. Again, I want a little bit more hand because you have the leg and you kind of let her go. So you're going to have more than hands here. Canter.
Canter.
Okay, let's come back down. Now relax. Now ask her.
And canter. Come on.
Still waiting a little bit before we can. Okay, let's try something that maybe make it easier for you to ride. You come all the way down the walk and then.
Okay.
Okay. Now, whenever you're riding like this and you're going to ask her for the canter, I want you just to relax and you'll kind of tip back like this, okay? What's happening is you want to go like this.
Yeah.
You want to go forward because it helps you with your balance. Once you relax a little bit more, let your pelvis go with her so that you'll just kind of lean back a little bit. Just relax, look up and say a word.
And canter. Canter. Canter.
Okay, let's wait. I want to try something. I'll be right back.
And I won the NASCAR last year. And we went like 12 weeks without winning too. So
It's stroking them on my head. It's like when they were nursing, they rubbed their heads against their mother and nursed at the same time. So it was kind of, sometimes we help them to relax.
that's very nice.
We're not going to canter, we're just going to sitting trot. So
Go the other way.
go the other way.
It needs a lot more.
We put the big tank on.
Now, on the lunge line to the right, you may find that it's good if you make the circle a little smaller.
That's what we have to do. Otherwise, she'll pick up the incorrect lead.
That's right.
Too
And
big
what,
a
see,
circle.
actually the bend is what tells them what lead to be in. And if they're in a big circle, they can counter bend. And then they tell themselves that's the left lead. So if you put her on a little smaller, ask her to canter. When she's cantered, then you can let her go out on a bigger circle a little at a time.
That's exactly what we do.
Yeah,
Girl.
you got this down pretty good. Sitting trot. Sit a little bit more towards your tailbone. That's it. Yes, this is nice. This is nice. Stay relaxed, feel the swing, inside, outside, left. I want you to ask a little bit more with your legs, so she goes more bigger steps. That's it.
Kind of bitter.
Yes. Now, don't ask so much with your legs, relax your seat. And now she goes smaller. Now ask with your legs, ride it with your seat, and go bigger.
Got a heavy mouth?
Hugs, big hugs, big
Works
hugs.
for me.
So there you go. Inside, outside.
I work
This
for
is a new,
This is Hollywood.
there's a new
I
horse.
work with a guy
Yeah, I
that,
see.
his name's Ed Wright, he puts on clinics all around, like the
Okay, let's
US
ride the
and
wall.
I
Very
bought
nice.
this shit off of him.
This is much better than it was the last time.
Yes,
That's what he recommended.
You've been practicing.
yes, I have.
I don't crank on his
Yes,
mouth
I
with it.
have.
Let's let her just walk and nice.
Yeah.
In fact, let's do this, just what we just did, except I want you to go
I
to
have plenty
posting
of time.
trot.
Okay.
And I want you to let her stretch
I'll see what
in
it
the
says.
trot. That says,
But
I'll
a bit
just
is
stay
as
right
heavy
here
as
on
your
the
hand
circle, the
falls.
white circle. Sitting trot, bounce around, and then go to posting, and give her as much rein as she'll take.
Like it?
It's fine, and
She
I
likes
think,
her stretchy circles.
yeah,
Okay?
for the most part. I sometimes go back and forth between the snackle and stuff,
And
but.
give her,
Yeah.
yes, just like you're on lunch line. Let her go all the way to
I
the
ride it in
floor.
curving on the trails just because I know you get your breath.
All the way
Yeah.
to the floor, all the way to the Okay, now without your reins, I want you to sit, come back to walk. Sit and ride the walk. Well done. Give her a pat, tell her what a great horse she was. And keep working on letting the rein go all the way to the bottom.
Yep. That's what we've just started kind of playing with stretches.
Play with it, okay? But you want to get to the point where you can go to the buckle and she stretches like this. That's
Yeah,
forward
he's
and down.
young, he's just 5.
Whenever you have a little bit of
He
connection
spent
right
most
now,
of this
she
year
comes
off
under the
just
bit.
'cause
Yeah.
he had his leg injury.
Eventually,
His
when she
fibromyalgia.
learns to stretch forward and down, then you can do
I
it
had
with
to
a
take
little
him to
connection.
Dr. Light,
and you'll be fine.
get EPM.
That's like he's saying.
Somebody needed shorter.
Did he say he was in pain?
No, he's saying,
You don't want
I'm
short
having
reins.
an okay day.
Yeah.
Well, it was because somebody had their horse on contact, and they had that loop like what we do. They're like, you need short reins. And I was like, if I put shorter reins on my
He's talking
horse,
about being
she
better.
won't stretch
Yeah.
as nice.
Don't
Yeah,
put
oh my
short
God,
reins on.
it's crazy.
I will never do.
I buy the longest reins I can find, and I put a snap on
Yeah.
each end. It makes them actually about 4 inches longer,
He's gonna exert.
and I can change them.
Okay.
Yeah, I've thought about getting
I
a
couldn't
snap
feel like
on
he
these.
had medical blanket.
Very good. You gonna come next week?
Yes.
No, we're in Michigan.